evening, ladies and gentlemen. Are we on? We're not on? Is that a, I don't, yes, there's a green line up there. So who's missing? We're all here. Okay. No, Kaylee's not here, so we're 6. Good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting, Sandwich School Committee meeting of March 26th, 2025. I'm going to have to use my teacher voice. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in session.
We're beginning the meeting, please.
Thank you. All right. Members of the public may listen and watch the Sandwich School Committee meeting via live stream at www.sandwichtv.org and the Sandwich Community TV Education Channel 8. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. In deference to our superintendent of the Cape Cod Collaborative, Hope Hanson, thank you. I'm asking if the committee is willing to shift the agenda so Ms. Hanson can present first and be on her way. Okay. So if you want to join us. Yep.
I would just, let me try that again. I fully support that if we could do that like before the superintendent's update. I'd rather we do public forum first.
Okay, we will do, if everybody is in agreement with that, we will do public forum first. So the first public forum, does anybody wish to be heard at public forum?
See, that was quick.
I see no one. I thought with all these people here, we'd have somebody. Okay, so with that, Ms. Hanson, please join us at the table. Thank you.
Sorry to cost you the 30 seconds.
You can go, Rick.
So this first item is Sandwich is a member of the Cape Cod Collaborative, and Joe, you can enhance this
Sure.
more. But we will move the old business item of admission of the Plymouth Public Schools into the Cape Cod Collaborative.
Sure, and just as I know in the background notes, and I think in the packet, you have amended articles of agreement for the collaborative. Going back exactly a month ago at the February 26, 2025 meeting, the Board of Directors of the Cape Cod Collaborative, which represents all of us here on the Cape, voted to accept the amended Articles of Agreement to add Plymouth as a full member of the collaborative. The key piece is, in addition to the collaborative Board of Directors to vote on that, a majority of the constituent districts also, their school committees must also approve this as well. I think a key piece to realize here is that Plymouth has already been participating in the collaborative, and keep in mind, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Hope, the collaborative serves 3 real critical purposes. First and foremost, by far, is creating and having specialized instruction, special education programming for students across the Cape and Plymouth that have some of the most significant needs. They also are a wonderful organization to offer professional development. And then I'm sure Hope's new favorite activity, busing, for many, many districts use the collaborative, although here in Sandwich we do not. Keep in mind that Plymouth has already been accessing many of the programs and services of the collaborative already. What this does is it makes them a full member, a full voting member of the collaborative. And I think, with that, the old adage, their strength in numbers definitely is applicable here in the sense of it makes the collaborative a little bit more viable as far as knowing that now we have that extra member and that extra income to keep programs a little bit more viable because you have increased population accessing programs and so on. So it's understandable why the board of directors voted for this. I know we've had discussions at the superintendent's level and the CAPE and the superintendent's group, and we're in support of it as well. So that's just kind of the background. Dr. Hope Hanscom, up until about 6 or 7 weeks ago, was the assistant superintendent next door in Mashpee. And, we're delighted that she's taken on this role as the executive director. Hope, I don't know if you want to add.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I left Mashpee because our interim special education director was really tough. And so no, I thanks for having me. This is my 18th school committee meeting this month of March, because as the superintendent said, I started at the collaborative on January 21st, and this was already in the works. But in order for it to happen for a July 1st start, we needed to amend the Articles of Agreement, which required DESE looking at it as well as our attorney. The board needed 2 looks at it, one on February 12th, and then we called a special meeting for February 26th so they could vote, and then every school committee has to vote to either accept or not the amended Articles of Agreement. All of that has to be finished and sent to DESE by April 1st. So it's been busy. But at the same time, it's been a great opportunity for me to come to all of these school committee meetings and meet you all, which I'm really excited about. I know that Sue does a quarterly report for the collaborative, and that we're going to be giving them you a newsletter starting in April, and quarterly you'll get a newsletter to share out. And I'm always happy to come and talk if there's ever anything that I can do to support the Sandwich Public Schools. But I probably wouldn't have done it all in the first month, and so I'm kind of grateful that I have a chance to be here. The only substantive change is to add Plymouth to the Articles of Agreement. The last time the articles were opened was 2015. So the other changes that DESE requires that we make are things that have changed in statute or regulation since the last time they were opened. So it's sort of like, oh, this sounds terrible, but like when you start to do building repairs and then you have to fix all the ADA compliance and asbestos and all of that, but if you didn't touch anything, you could keep it the way it is forever. I guess the Articles of Agreement are like an old building. So the only change that DESE required was that we take out the adjunct membership option that was in our Articles of Agreement, because that doesn't exist anymore as an option. Other than that, it's the same. And I'll just give you a spoiler alert: for a year or so from now, I'll probably be back asking to amend the articles again based on the strategic planning that we're going to be doing. So I didn't want you to be like, you said it was 10 years or whatever. Normally we won't come and ask to change very much, but I do believe we will be launching a lot of sort of growth opportunities for the collaborative in the next year. And so you will see me again, I would imagine.
So, Hope, if I may, the motion should state that the school committee approves the addition of Plymouth, no, just the updated memorandum.
The motion would be a motion to approve the updates to the Cape Cod Collaborative Articles of Agreement as presented,
Okay.
if that's what someone wants to do.
Okay,
And then before you do that, I also need live signatures that I then have to cut out with scissors and glue onto one document, and because it's 2025 and we do that now. And so I will, if it does pass, I will
All
ask
of us?
Just the chair.
Okay.
Is that you, Sue?
That's me.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got it right. So I will, once the vote's over, if it does pass, walk over to you, Sue, because I have the document with me, if that's okay.
That's-
I don't want you to get freaked out.
No. Okay, so let's get the motion, and then we can discuss if necessary.
I move that we approve the proposed revised Articles of Agreement and articles, I'm reading right off the thing, excuse me. Let me try that again. Articles of Agreement, yeah. I move that we approve the proposed changes to the Articles of Agreement for the Cape Cod Collaborative as presented.
Motion made by Kevin, seconded by Bert. Any discussion?
That was way too hard for me to say. Just one question, just be clear, I think I know the answer. Adding Plymouth to the collaborative incurs no cost or burden to us that we don't already have
Correct.
with the collective. Thank you.
Yes.
So, Dr. Hanson.
This is payback for what I said about her.
It is.
No, I'm teasing.
So, being in the role where we sometimes request students to be placed in programs or have require access services provided by the collaborative, how does having this large district coming in prevent that, or what? I guess my plan is, my question is, what is the plan for the collaborative to still be able to accommodate such a huge district as well as other districts that can't always access the
Yep.
services they need?
That's a great question. So one of and I was asked it a lot, so I did find out the answer, which is helpful. Plymouth has been participating in the Cape Cod Collaborative's programming at a member rate, actually, for several years. They purchase prepaid slots at Waypoint, which is our special education day school for students with social and emotional disabilities. Even not being members, and I'm not sure why, but I'm just, so from a fiscal perspective, it's very limited, the amount of the hit that the collaborative will take, because they also will be paying membership fees. There will be a little bit of a difference from the STAR programs, but that won't get passed on to the districts. The space one is a really good question, because as I've been in the collaborative now for 2 months, but I've worked in Mashpee for so long and worked as a partner with the collaborative, sometimes we need a kid to go and there's no space. And so are we adding a giant district? It's going to take all our slots. The answer to that is no. I should say, I don't anticipate that. Right now, the referrals, the analysis of the referrals that we haven't been able to take that we've done have indicated, particularly at Waypoint, that it's not a space or a staffing issue. Right now, it's our organization is set up so that we have kids at Waypoint by grade level. And instead, so you have all the fifth graders together. And at Waypoint, kids might have the same disability, but they don't necessarily have the same profile. And so what we're planning for next year is to actually cluster students by grade level, but not just fifth grade. It might be fifth, sixth, and seventh with the same profile and the same needs. Because right now, we might have a kid who wants to come in, but we don't have a peer group for them, and they're not going to be served well socially and emotionally, which is the presenting disability, because of the peers that we have. If we change that model to have 4 sort of subsections of kids, we'll be able to take the kids, they'll have a peer group, and we'll be able to provide the services. So I actually believe we're going to be able to better serve the districts that way, not relative to Plymouth, but just in general. And Plymouth has not, like I said, as they've been working as a sort of member district or de facto member district already, they're already in the queue, so it's not going to take spots from what I can imagine, it's not going to take spots. I mean, we'll see what happens, and I might be back in a year saying, oh yeah, they did, sorry. But the analysis is indicating that they're not.
And just to follow up on that, so for financially, they've already been pre-purchasing Waypoint slots
Yes.
at the member district rate, but not paying a member?
Correct.
So it will be a somewhat of a financial,
Yes, but at STAR, they've been paying the non-member rate,
Okay.
and so that has offset the membership fees they'll be paying is sort of balanced out by, they'll now pay the member rate at STAR. So it's close to a wash. There's a little bit of a financial hit the first year. That really one additional referral from Plymouth, which we're anticipating we will get because they're members now, or they will be, will pay off. And as we said, it is not something we are passing on in tuitions to the districts at all. The collaborative is absorbing that cost.
Any further discussion or questions for Dr. Hanscom?
one more, if nobody else has more.
You have another one?
Just another one.
Okay.
Why is Plymouth choosing to join the Cape Cod Collaborative as opposed to the Plymouth Area Collaborative?
Plymouth is a member of Pilgrim Area Collaborative, and actually over the bridge where I used to work, I was a special ed director in West Bridgewater, and we were members of North River Collaborative and Reed's Collaborative because they do different things and their specialties are different. And so I think what I understand Plymouth's sort of wishes are to be able to access our services and have a say in how we grow because they're already using so many of them. But Pilgrim also provides a whole other set of home-based services, behavioral supports, things that we don't do. So I think they're looking to diversify their opportunities for the variety of needs of the kids in their district.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right. All in favor of welcome or approving the changes as stated in the Articles of Agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Bert, were you?
He was
I'm sorry. All right. 600, it passes, and thank you very much, and welcome to Plymouth officially.
Thanks.
All right, we will go back to our main order of agenda, and we will review and act on the meeting minutes of the regular business meeting of March 12th, 2025.
I move that we approve the minute. Let me try that again. I don't know what's up. I'm getting tongue-tied tonight. I move that we approve the meeting minutes of our regular meeting of March 12th, 2025 as presented.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 600, it is unanimous. There we go. I think that's it? All right, great, take care, good luck. All right, next item, correspondence or announcements. I have none.
I just have one. Anybody that's in the audience tonight, there, right downstairs, is the Young Artists Gallery, and it's being held tonight from 5:30 to 7:30, and it's highlighting artwork from Sandwich students grades K to 12. So take a walk downstairs before you leave tonight and check it out. This is their spring rotation. The fall one was really, really well attended.
Very talented,
Yeah, very talented.
very good. All right, next up is the superintendent's update.
All right. Well, once again, good evening, everybody. Just a couple items. The first one, as I noted, as of this week, on this Monday, the Joint Ways and Means Committee began holding hearings. I think they started at UMass Amherst on the FY26 state budget. Keep in mind, there is a little bit of a sense of urgency for advocacy for the simple reason that there is $1.4 billion of surplus Fair Share Act money for FY24. And keep in mind, those funds are supposed to go towards either transportation or education. And keep in mind, for this current fiscal year, the reason that we got $104 extra per student versus the $30 extra per student, us being a minimum aid district, is because of that Fair Share Act money. That represented about $74 per hour. So in the packet are a letter that was co-signed by myself and Sue to our local legislators advocating for either additional Chapter 70 or the circuit breaker reimbursement to be kept up. I share that, also stating, as we discussed during the last meeting, per our calendar of events for school committee meetings, I have confirmed in the last week that both our new senator, Senator Fernandez, and Representative Zaros will be present at our next meeting on April 11th to discuss these issues. Bert?
I have an objection. In the part of the paragraph that you have, and I'm using notes because I can get to be forgetful sometimes. You signed, and I'm okay with you signing it, but when Sue signs it, she represents the committee, and then you added on that and myself on the behalf of the committee. Well, I didn't know anything about this, and so I have an issue with putting a signature on something where we appear to represent the whole committee, and I did not hear about this ahead of time. The fact that I understand there was a time factor involved, but when there's a time factor involved, when the Mass Association of School Committees send something out late, that does not create an emergency as far as I am concerned. The least that I think should have been done was at least contact the committee, contact the members of the committee and say that this letter was coming out And if any of us had an objection, fine. Because I remember, it's a couple of years ago, when we had some letters that were going to the Department of Element and Secretary of Education. Kevin did a very good job writing up some letters, and we approved them, and we voted on them. So I'm concerned that at some point, I'm sure you wouldn't do this, but that letters signed, I shouldn't say letters that might be signed by one member of the school committee or yourself, go out on something that is a little bit more important than this. As far as the merits of the letter refers to money that was basically that was collected under the millionaire's tax. And so I talked to Senator Zaros. He voted against that, and I'm concerned that we are sitting here spending some money that was collected under the millionaire's tax. That I did realize that the voters did approve, but I was against the millionaire's tax. Not that I am a multimillionaire, but I was against the millionaire's tax, and I don't know if I would have wanted my signature on this letter. The merits, I question the merits because of where the funding is coming. So that's a concern that I have, that our name was attached to something, the whole committee's name was attached to something without getting prior approval, and that this might set a precedent. Thank you.
Can I just ask a question? Where does it say on behalf of all of us? I'm not reading it.
The letter does say on behalf of the Sandwich School Committee.
I didn't see that.
Bert, I think your point is a great one. My most sincere apology. I think from a process standpoint, you're totally on point. I think I viewed probably incorrectly the letter as an advocacy letter with the intent of procuring additional state funding for our district and therefore lowering the local tax burden. But, the intent was nothing more than advocacy, but I think your point around process is completely on point, and something like this would not ever happen again.
Thank you.
And I would concur that I just saw it as advocacy and didn't even consider the fact that a member of the committee would object. And we had the conversation a couple of days ago, it had to go out, and so I signed at the end of a meeting. So I am sorry, I apologize, and while I'm in the chair, that will not happen again.
But there was no ill intent.
But I make
There
a
was
lot-
no ill intent.
I make a lot more mistakes.
It's
Well,
state
you read it,
representative
Bert, that
exams.
was important.
The chair's already noted, we'll approach it differently next time. Personally, I had no personal objections to what was sent. To Bert's comment, I think that I do look at that letter from an advocacy standpoint a little bit different from a policy wrangle standpoint of what we did last time, and those letters did go with everybody's signature, individual
Sure.
members. So it was structured a little bit differently, but your point is taken, Bert.
So the second thing in my report is a little more fun than circuit breaker and Chapter 70 advocacy, and it's a lot of the exciting work that's ongoing with the Career Pathways program, and I think we've had a lot of recent successes. So our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Quinn, is here to present an update. And I know he also has some students here with them to share some of the successes. So I'll turn it over to you, Dave.
Thank you, Dr. Maruschek. You're welcome to sit wherever you like, but I also wanted you to have access to the microphones, so that way you can sit and join, or if you're more comfortable sitting over there, that's
The thing is, people at home will not be able to hear them.
ah.
So,
So as the guests of honor are getting seated, I just want to say, although I'm giving the update, this is the work of a lot of people, most notably our principal, Ms. Jeannie Nelson, who's been at the forefront of being supportive of this, ensuring that the day-to-day pieces go forward. Ginger Lavelle, who is our work-based learning coordinator and the co-chair of the Pathways program, who's just put in an inordinate amount of work to bring this to where it is right now and has set it up for the future. Our department heads, Colleen Davidson and Lori St. Pierre, who have been helping to build out the courses and the program of studies. Our assistant principals, Dave Aycock and Josh Clarkin, who have been there every step of the way. So it's really just it's a team effort, and I just want to recognize these people and all the members of our Pathway team who are making this possible. So just to kind of give you an overview of what is an innovation career pathway, there are 4 main components. There are 2 academic or advanced courses. That is allowing students to earn college credit either through a AP course, Project Lead the Way course, or thanks to Dr. Miller, an articulation agreement with a local community college. Students also take 2 technical classes, which are industry-specific courses. Those may or may not be college credit bearing. We're going to try to make sure that they are as often as possible. And those are full-year courses. Then there's one 100-hour internship or capstone project. I think that's fitting given our student advisory committee, which I know you'll go into later, that every student who enrolls in the pathway will complete a 100-hour internship or capstone. We can be really flexible about when that would take place, but that's one major component because we want to make sure that students have access to real-world learning within the industry sector that they're interested in. And then the final, I think, is the most critical piece is that it's open access, right? Students enroll into this process. As they take their classes and say they complete it, we match the effort they're putting in with ample supports. So there's not an exclusionary factor to it. If you're willing to work and put in the time and effort, we're going to make sure you complete the pathway. And so the first pathway that we've already launched so far is our computer science pathway. It is completed over 4 years. You can see at the top there are keys that indicate the different types of courses. The little graduation cap is our advanced course. The gear is our technical course. Students can start in freshman year with their computer science essentials, which we'll hear from very shortly. Those students who have a background in computer science can start with computer science principles, which is also a AP course as well. Starting in sophomore year, they can take computer science principles as the next course in the pathway, but we're also offering a cybersecurity course starting in 25-26. Teachers are being trained right now in some to offer this course. Junior year, we're opening up even more options, so you're seeing an addition of Computer Science A, which is an advanced AP course that also leads to Java certification. Mrs. Lavelle has put forward a AI and robotics course to give more options to students. And then we're also, this is pending approval from DESE, more options to take existing courses that are on the books, web design and advanced game design. They're currently semesters, but what DESE will allow you to do is bundle courses. So it has to be a full year. So if they take both the intro and the advanced, it counts towards the pathway. Then you see in the senior year, they will take students have the option of taking some of the courses in junior year, but also their Project Lead the Way capstone, which is a course where they could also be taking their internship hours as well. And so you've heard enough from me, but I want to turn it over to our students now because our guests of honor to talk a little bit about our CS Pathway Spotlight. And so they're in our intro course, Computer Science Essentials, but you're now looking at the first prize winner of the Student Industry Connects, put together by our partners with the 1-8 Foundation, who we'll talk about a little bit later. They provide PD and support and also quite a bit of funding to help make these programs possible. So without further ado, I want to turn it over to Mrs. Lavelle, who will then kind of set us up for our students.
Lights on.
Hello, my name is Prisha Bhattacharya. I'm a 9th grader at SMHS.
Speak into the mic.
Yeah, all right.
Get in a little closer.
I'm sure the green lights are on. Just tap it, tap the button.
Yeah, all right.
All right.
Great.
Sorry. My name is Prisha Bhattacharya, and I am a 9th grader at SMHS.
I'm Holden Mahdi. I'm also a 9th grader at SMHS.
And I'm Finnegan Hockday, 9th grade at SMHS. So we created a app that has to deal with inventory. We did a lot of interviewing around the school, especially Miss Nelson, our tech officer, and so we came up with an app that would help deal with inventory. So you can add materials, subtract, reset, and retrieve data, and it works with a database that keeps your data. So when you log out of the app and turn it back on, it will stay there when you press retrieve data. This was a ongoing problem in the school. So it only really works when people input the material. So yeah, it creates more problems if it's not used properly, but when it is used, it can be a really beneficial tool.
So we did this for our midterm project, and we also got a lot of feedback from our classmates. We demonstrated our app to our class, and then we also showed it to Mr. Fenton, who is a part of the tech, who initially gave us the idea for this. And we also send it through to 1-8 Student Industry Connects to have industry professionals come and give us feedback, which was really helpful as well.
One of our recurring problems in our app is the reset button would not work at all. It would ask you if you wanted to reset, but it would not reset the database. So the 1-8 professionals gave us some ideas to help fix that problem.
Could you tell us a little bit about the process, aside from collecting information from end users? How do you get from a concept to a final project?
So we actually plan it out first, on a document, what are the basics that you need for it to work at a basic level. And then from there, we try to get the basics working, initials, and then we add on extra stuff to make it work better and be more interactive and stuff. So for the reset data button, we initially didn't have that. We only wanted to be able to store the data. And then once we got that to work, we tried to work on the reset data button, as well as the retrieve data button. So it's more of just starting from the base and then just kind of building up upon that. So yeah.
I remember reading something about this. It might have been in Blue Night Highlights, there was a comment, and forgive me, I'm going to I'll probably misspeak, so you can correct me. And it was the industry that evaluated it talked about how you did something with the data set, the way you structured it. I'm not sure if I'm wording it correctly, but they were very impressed with how you did it, but it was not something the user would see, but it was how it was structured behind the scenes. Okay. So I guess my point was there's a lot more to it behind the scenes that the actual programmers are evaluating this were very impressed by, beyond the shiny thing that we see in front of us. So I thought that was impressive.
And did you bring the app with you on some of the, the committee members want to try out and play a little bit with the app?
I'll pass both around.
I think what's interesting about this too is that
You add paper towels to the inventory?
we have paper towels.
I know, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Do you want to show them?
That could be a problem.
It sounded like it was supposed to fall.
What's interesting about this project too is that the students receive feedback from folks at MIT, software engineers at Athena Health, and then Liberty Mutual as well. So it also represents what we're trying to do more globally where those who have industry know-how are connecting with students and framing it in such a way that it's not one of those situations where, when will I ever have to know that?
Should I advance it?
I don't know if I broke it.
You want to show Mrs. Miller what it looks like? Because I don't think she's seen what the code looks like. Not your work.
I had to add a new one. I don't know if I'm doing that.
Oh, okay, yes.
I found it. You know what it is? I'm not used to a Samsung is really what it is.
Towels? Show me how it works. Oh.
I added paper towels to it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm here for you.
We figured, because there's like a lot of pencils.
Yeah, I bet. Well, that's what I was trying to get you to tell me, but you didn't. That's okay.
No, it's a midterm project where it might be used, but it's like, it's still, it's a work in progress.
That's how all our meetings should be. This is much better.
So originally we had it down by,
When it's
But-
used.
it eventually became down to classrooms to the deadline. And if we had it
Very
in
cool.
the department, we'd have to have like
Okay.
some screens, like that's like screen one, but we'd have to do like screen two, screen three, screen four, like different screens for different departments. This took us about like 10 days, so about like 10 hours, something like that. It was a lot.
No,
We had like pre-planned.
that's fine. I mean,
Yeah,
I
we had
think that shows you
out
like
a lot of stuff, so it was like easy.
the
We
code.
could go back to like previous projects,
That's fascinating. That's wonderful.
things were restored, data.
And that's what the world, it's not sexy, but that's what runs the world, isn't it? Databases. Putting things in, pulling things out. That's awesome. Well, you guys are awesome. And are we going to see you working for major companies, your own companies, and we'll see your names on the stock market someday, right? Any other questions for Dr. Quinn or our students?
The tech lobsterman is what we have over there.
So I do have a question about the different pathways. Is there, since a lot of them are, or all of them are, 4-year programs, is there any kind of exploratory or anything in middle school for kids to choose?
So, in the, but wait, there's more segment, I wanted to give ample time to Prisha, Finn, and Holden, because like they're really, they're what's making everything that's going to come after possible. I think in kind of like a side note here, I think, what are there, 5 students in computer science essentials this year? It's more than quadrupled for enrollment in just 1 year. Just about all of our computer science, like core programs are at full capacity. Cybersecurity is a little bit low, but I think that's new, and I would expect a similar enrollment. But we'll get into that, and I'll try to wrap up quickly here, but just to talk a little bit about some of the other pathways. So the other really popular pathway, and I think we've got over 40 students enrolled in our initial course, which is our Principles of Biomedical Science, which we'll be offering next year. That's our freshman course that, as you think, we're grateful that you approved it as a biology option. We'll need to supplement that a little bit, but it allows kids to get their feet wet, get right into the pathway right away, and then also addresses some of the challenges we heard from the group earlier, just about how do we fit it all in. Sophomore, if they decide not to take Principal Biomedical Science, they'll be able to take that their sophomore year, as well as Human Body Systems. Those will be our 2 technical courses. Then as they shift into junior year, we have a bevy of AP options, AP Bio, AP Chem, and then potentially AP Environmental, along with Calculus and AP Statistics would count towards our advanced courses. And then again, we have the internship component. Students, we expect, will have like an internship/capstone course that will be kind of the schedule holder, but also trying to provide flexibility for their internships. The third major pathway that we've got coming on board is our business pathway. That one starts sophomore year. With going back to that example with the computer science, we're starting with bundles, taking 2 semester-long classes and combining them into a year-long class. So that starts with economics and personal finance, or economics and intro to business principles. Then we have junior year accounting, which is our first kind of dual articulation agreement class with 4 Cs. And then marketing and entrepreneurship is the 4th technical class option. They will also have access to an internship, and then senior year, they'll have the opportunity to take AP Econ exams for their advanced course, pre-calculus, calculus, and AP statistics, all are all part of the pathway options. So we want to provide flexibility with structure, knowing that different students are going to have different interests. Going to your point, Mrs. Brown, we've also thought about not just pathways, but how do we maybe create some on-ramps. And so thinking about starting in our 7th grade year, how do we purposely think about that nights and training class as kind of the introductory to the pathways and letting them know what the opportunities are. Then in 8th grade, offering quarter-long courses, so in automation robotics, computer science for innovators and makers, tying into our CS pathway, medical detectives, which I think we have like 126 students who have opted in for that class already, which is always popular, but now we give them a launching path for that. So we just want to give them options. We don't yet have one for business, but we're kind of thinking of it kind of like a mini exploratory, like they have at some of our tech schools. And then just some final highlights that I want to share that, again, Mrs. Lavelle has just been instrumental in terms of taking this first year as being the pathway coordinator and finding job shadows for kids, finding internships through a work-based learning alliance. That's a state-sponsored program that provides virtual internships. We've had one student take advantage of that already. There's another round in May focused on CAD, and I believe cybersecurity, but definitely green energy. So that process is in place, and I just want to thank you publicly for all your efforts to make this a reality. We could not do it without you. Just had a first student, and these are paid internships. The other piece of it is that we've secured over $200,000 in grant funding to make this a reality. We have not yet received designation from the DESE for our next 2 pathways. We expect to, but the nice thing is we're in a position we can offer these regardless. And I think that ties into kind of our 4th bullet. I'll skip a little bit here. Is it sparked interest in other departments offering unofficial pathways? So our fine and performing arts programs put together 4 courses for kids who are interested in those, for that domain of like a series of like with woodworking, performing arts. You've got the media arts. So we're starting to see other items bubble up. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, but there's a lot of this has sparked interest and curiosity and conversation. And then the other thing I just want to stress is that we've seen some really significant gains in course enrollment in just 1 year. And so I think we're meeting a demand that we probably knew all along, but just with all the effort of everybody in the Pathway team, we're making it a reality. So Kathy, Lucas, thank you for all the efforts there and guidance, and we're really excited about what's to come. A lot of work, a lot of different work, but we're excited, and we thank you for your support in making it a reality.
What does the virtual internship experience look like, feel like?
So the Work-Based Learning Alliance actually provides a project-based internship that they do. Ella, who had done it recently, she worked with a company down in Florida. But the students that she worked with, that she was on the team with, were mainly in the Massachusetts area. So they provide research and analysis for a plan for developing city, for making it more, having more tree coverage. So when she went through the beginning, they set their goals, they plan out the project, and then they have to go through the process of learning some of the skills that they will need in the workforce. And then their final presentation on Friday. But it was all done virtual.
And they have to coordinate their schedule, their work time, and their other industry. I know Mafre is another partner, and they get paid for it. The other nice piece of this too is that the Work-Based Learning Alliance has committed to providing CS internships, and we can pay on like a per seat basis if students can't secure them, or being on the Cape. We're not as we don't have a bevy of options like maybe if we live in the Metro Boston area, but.
That's great. Is it feasible for a student to participate in more than one pathway, or is kind of limiting in terms of scheduling?
We have not played out all the permutations yet. I think it would, yeah, I don't want to comment on that. I don't want to say yes and it's a no. I think I could kind of do the math, but between scheduling and they would be, the way they would have to do it is they would have to have their advanced courses count for, so let's say they took AP Stats and AP Calculus, right? And then they would just take 4 technical courses in the different domains. I'd also have to check with DESE to see if they would allow us to double count courses as part of the pathway, or if they expected, a 200 hours worth of internships and then 8 courses as part of the pathway. But it's an interesting idea.
Thank you.
So we have students, like our freshmen here, that go all the way through this, and they follow the whole pathway, start to finish. Come graduation, is there, what, if any, recognition? Is there something additional on their diploma? Is it just a separate certificate, or how?
Sure. So a lot of this is like emergent design. Some of the things that but we understand the importance of ceremony, and actually that's a really good segue. So for all students who enroll in an innovation career pathway course before the Deeper Learning Expo, which is going to be May 27th, for all of you who want to join us, we're going to have basically a kind of an enrollment ceremony where they'll receive a T-shirt that designates that they're part of this pathway. We also expect to provide them with, through grant funding, like a piece of workwear, so that when they're going out to their internship, they have something to, it's like a uniform, but also something like pride, much like a KTC or a Sandwich Blue Knights athletic sweatshirt. At graduation, we expect to give them a designated cord that would recognize that. And then, there's no official seal from DESE to put on a diploma.
You mentioned the cord, there's something like that.
Yeah. We think ceremony is important.
Tracy?
This is just amazing. Like, to do all of this in not a long period of time is really great. And this is so fun to see that you've made this. So thank you for coming to share. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
And
So what are you doing in the second half of the year?
We're now learning text-based coding, so Python.
Great.
Congratulations.
Indeed, congratulations, well done.
You do us proud.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's see.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, thank you. Continuing on to, where are we?
New business.
New business. Athletic update, Mr. Sean Donovan, Athletics Director.
Good evening, everyone. So, update for athletics, which we completed a few weeks ago when we are fully into the swing of spring athletics. I've seen some of you out there, and we had a nice sunny day this afternoon. We were out on the lacrosse field, and they're working on the baseball field and softball and working on the tennis courts and everything. So we're fully underway in terms of spring, but I just wanted to go over a couple of things from the winter. Here's what we had for, well, the pictures from our sort of open house night that we've had, where I asked a bunch of our athletes to come by and, present their sports to the students that are either new to the school or looking at Sandwich Middle High School. So that was a great representation there of a bunch of our athletes, not all of them, but mostly team captains and things like that. So basically I tried to break it down with on the left side there with the boys and girls basketball, obviously pretty self-explanatory. We ran 4 levels for both boys and girls, varsity, JV, freshman, and middle school. and we're able to have, I think, a decent schedule for the middle school. Again, shout outs to the Center for Active Living for having us over there on a daily basis for practice and for games. So we would shoot them over there after school in the minibus, and Coach Trimble and Coach Kruger would be over there and have them go through practice. So that's a huge help in the winter to have that space. Indoor track held up at the Reggie Lewis Center. We had 40 participants in that. Again, that's 7 through 12. Swim and dive. Again, they obviously compete individually for the boys and the girls, but for those two teams together for the boys and the girls was at 32. Wrestling, which we were standalone, that was not a co-op, so that was just our kids, Sandwich Middle High School kids, and we were at 30 wrestlers there, which I think is a really good number considering the size of our school. So Coach Fay does an amazing job of keeping them engaged and always having really good numbers. Ice hockey we ran at the varsity and the junior varsity level was 37. And then ice hockey, which was a co-op with Sandwich, Bourne, Mashpee, and Carver. And we were the co-op host school, and we had 17 of our girls on that team. And I think we had a total of, I want to say 22 or 23 when you take the other schools that were combined. So I think the total was in the 250s or so for total students.
Can you go back there, that slide? Personal bias aside, the highest participation was girls basketball.
Yep.
More than the boys.
Just saying.
Did I say that out loud?
You didn't say it out loud. No, it was just there.
And for anybody listening at home, or sometimes we will anecdotally hear, well, there's no freshman games, or there's no schedule. I don't know what the schedule is yet. Not for lack of trying. It's that other towns don't have this same participation rate.
No.
I mean, it's a.
Yeah.
Not to speak for you, but you're like, awesome. I have 4 levels of basketball.
Yeah.
Bugger. I have 4 levels of basketball because now I have to go find opponents.
Yeah, and find it, and trying to find the games. I shouldn't say trying because it's what I'm supposed to do, but finding the teams that we think we compete against, that we can get to their games, that we have the gym space available. So, it ends up being what I'm finding is you sort of start your season, you have your teams, and then especially your sub-varsity and middle school levels, then you start figuring out who can we go and play. A school will reach out and say, oh, by the way, we actually do have a freshman team this year, or our freshman team is actually more like a middle school team because it's mostly 8th graders with maybe the occasional 9th grader. So you sort of try to be creative with how you match your teams up.
Sean, there's been a lot in the press, in the media, about the impact of club sports on local district sports.
Yep.
Obviously, we have very high participation. Can you give a just general guess as to how many of our student athletes are doing district as well as club?
I'd say a large majority, especially at your upper levels, especially at your varsity levels.
District for all the reasons we would hope they would.
Yeah, they're still managing to do it all, and maybe they're doing their club or their AU program is probably in the summer, and then they're still able to get out for our sports for two or three seasons, and then still able to play for their club team or their AU team. So yeah.
I just wanted to segue off, Kevin, about the participation rate. Now, looking forward to next year when we come back to the Cape and Islands League, are we optimistic that we'll have as much competition with the local schools in our Cape and Islands League? Do they have freshman teams?
So
competition there.
So that was one of the things I was finding was especially at the sub-varsity levels, the middle school and the freshman level, I was scheduling a lot of our games with those teams.
The local.
Yeah, we may have, I don't know, say it's Falmouth Academy or Cape Cod Academy, their JV team might be the equivalent of our freshman team. So we could match that up. Like looking at our boys, middle school freshman level games, it's like Cape Tech. It's Upper Cape Tech. It's Bourne. It's some of the more of the local teams. So I'm finding that. I think the competition level is still going to be. It's still going to be high. It obviously varies. Everything's cyclical, right? You know, like in terms of your teams, you end up having a good baseball team just because of the makeup of the kids that year. You know, you end up having a really good pitcher and a shortstop, you know, so when team ends up being good. So, and I think the proximity of the games, I think, is more appealing. Absolutely. As most of you know, of, you know, staying local for games and not having to go over the bridge. So, yeah, I think it should hopefully stay the same, if not go up.
Great.
And I think level of competition in games should be fine.
Okay.
It's good problems to have is what I was trying to say. I just couldn't come up with the words. My last question on that last slide, girls hockey. If I'm not mistaken, the co-op is a 2-year co-op?
Yep.
Is that, were you going to be looking to renew?
So the plan is to renew it. Yep. So I reached out to the other schools. They're on board. They'd like to do it again. I know Coach would like to do it again. I like to do it again. It keeps us viable. We still get to be the host school, and it's been pretty seamless in terms of working with those athletic directors, and also it still keeps our foot in the door of Carver and Mashpee that are in the South Shore League, Bourne, which is in the South Coast. So it allows us to still have some of those connections with a lot of other leagues when we're looking for games.
Got it.
Yeah.
I will, compliments to the coaches and to the students themselves, those that end up at the Cal to play down there. I've heard from a number of people who volunteer work there who talk about how polite and well-behaved those youngsters are. So that's a credit to the coaches, their parents, and the students themselves.
Absolutely. And them being welcoming with letting us in there and being flexible. So I tried to do basically highlights of our teams as opposed to individual, because we'd be here for a while if I did it individual, especially for our individual sports like swim and track and gymnastics and things like that. So I just had reached out to the coaches and just said, hey, you know, can you give me something? And a lot of them did give me full individual. So coaches, if you're listening, I apologize that we didn't get all the individual, but I wanted to pull out some of the team things. So I'll try not to read verbatim because you can all see there. But Coach Fay want to point out the consistency of his team, 11 consecutive years having someone at the sectionals. Swim and dive, you know, Wendy has a powerhouse down there with her swimmers. It's year in and year out. So you know, she was probably being modest and just giving me those couple of things, but they do great on the team level and on the individual level with their swimmers. So the boys won the South Shore League and the girls split for the South Shore League. Girls hockey won the Judy Gormley Memorial Holiday Tournament down at Gallo Arena. Again, that was just one of the things. They had an awesome. They were getting better as the season went on. They only lost to Marshfield 2-1, who then beat Duxbury 2-1, and then eventually kind of kept rolling. So it was a great finish for them. They finished first at the end of the year in the Cape Cod Times. Gymnastics was back. Credit to the girls in our school, small in number, but big in terms of spirit, in terms of getting the gymnastics program up and running and going again. So we teamed up with Falmouth, Mashpee, and Barnstable was the home team in that, and their coach was a Barnstable coach, and we were able to get 2 athletes on the all-star team there for gymnastics. Boys basketball finished strong. They won 7 out of their last 11 games. They made it to the finals of their end-of-the-year tournament. Girls basketball, again, if we went to, you know, personal accolades, you know, just one thing that stands out, I know a lot of you saw Maddie Lawrence score her 1,000th point, you know, which was an awesome night for her, an amazing student athlete, a great representative of our program, you know. So there's, as Kevin said, there's these anecdotal things that we see throughout the year, and that'd be one that I would want to highlight. But another great season for the girls basketball team, making the tournament for the 3rd year in a row. This is from Coach Moore for boys hockey, and he sent me a bunch of pictures. And, you know, if you know Jordan, he's sort of a heart on his sleeve type of guy and really loves sandwich hockey and loves the guys that he coached and really is looking big picture. And he had sent me a couple of pictures of his teams doing more community service-based things. And he just said he was proud that his guys continued in their effort to give back to the community, and they ran another successful Toys for Tots game and a first responders night. So I think that highlights and is emblematic of what Jordan does. And our indoor track, credit to those, everyone, family and runners that go up to Reggie Lewis on Monday nights usually. We'll be at Wheaton this year, so that should be a little bit better. 5 runners placed in the top 3 for the South Shore League, and all 5 qualified for Division 5 states, and they will all be back running next year. So that was it. Those were our highlights.
You got a ballpark percentage-wise of participation rate for the spring?
354 we have. I don't know what the percentage is, but that's the number we have.
At least a third.
Good numbers. Yeah.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah.
So quick math.
40% or so? Not to put
My dad was a math teacher,
me on
but
the
I'm
spot
not.
with my
I'm not.
calculator.
psychology teacher.
Yeah. More big picture stuff. Taylor remembers psychology class.
Including middle school students, that would be 40% of your
Wow.
student body,
There's-
or 39.86%.
Yeah.
That's what I had.
That
That's
was
what I
the
had.
fall,
I just
too.
didn't want to.
looked back- I looked back at the fall, and we were about 40% too, back in the fall.
And I always have believed so firmly that co-curriculars in general, sports in particular, where a minimum GPA is required to stay on a team, that is an academic lifesaver for so many students that might not live up to their potential academically if
Yeah.
for sports.
Yeah, and I mean, so far I've found that, you know, it's the exception to the rule of any of our kids having really any academic issues going into the season. It's a, you know, maybe just a few that you have to sort of check on. So most of them are doing a really good job.
Can we really afford this? Well, we need to afford it.
Absolutely.
Teaches time management, teamwork, dedication, etc. It's not about the wins and losses.
No.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good
Appreciate it.
season. Good spring.
Sean.
We're going to miss driving up to Hull for all of those games, you know. On a Friday afternoon, soccer game. Yeah, it was fun.
Next up is award notification of the food services RFP.
Again, I get all the fun topics this evening. I really do. I cherish it. So this is pretty straightforward. Within the last 2 months, we issued and then closed about 2 weeks ago a request for proposals for food service administration. As you may or may not know, our existing vendor, the Abbey Group, has been providing food services, I believe, over the last 6 years. So for this bid, which is a 1-year contract with an option for 2 one-year rollovers, we had 2 bidders, our existing vendor, the Abbey Group, and a second one, Genuine Foods, which is out of Cambridge. So I put in the packet a kind of summary of the outcome of the scoring. Keep in mind, as is very typical, there's really 2 major categories, the non-price proposal and the price proposal. The non-price proposal kind of speaks to items such as the menus, advertising, staffing, management of the contract, financial stability of the vendor, and so on. And then the price proposal is just kind of the bottom line, looking at what management fees, administration fees, but also what the district guaranteed return would be on an annual basis. So you see the summary for both the non-price proposal and the price proposal. The scoring review committee scored the Abbey Group higher than Genuine Foods. And if you look at some of the details with regard to the price proposal, specifically the guaranteed return, annual return from the Abbey Group versus Genuine Foods, it's not very close at all. So the recommendation of the review committee, as is mine, is to accept the proposal from the Abbey Group for the FY26 school year as a one-year contract with the possibility of 2 one-year extensions.
Can we have a motion to accept a proposal?
Well, can you explain because I don't have the contract in front of me. What is, and I'm going to claim to be an expert in the food service contract. I'll admit my shortcomings. Can you explain the guaranteed return, what that is?
I was going to ask this.
So the guaranteed return is the guaranteed what we get back from the group, from the provider, what the Sandwich Public Schools actually gets back.
So
Where's
is
the
it,
money come from?
is it how many kids utilize the services we get reimbursed? Is that how it works?
Correct.
Yeah, from the government.
Correct.
Yes.
And with universal free meals, it is coming both from the federal government, but also a large amount from the state government, very much funded by the Fair Share Act.
We actually make money off this contract, is what I'm interpreting?
Correct.
Yeah.
Which, keep in mind, we reinvest into the food services program. So you think about things like new walk-in coolers, new ovens, and so on. Actually, since COVID in universal free meals, it's been super beneficial to revitalizing the program. As you guys probably know, there's absolutely nothing in our operational budget that speaks to anything that goes to food services.
So, depending on what happens at the state level and the federal level, we may have to make some adjustments.
Potentially, but realize it wouldn't be Sandwich alone.
Right.
I do think at the state level, there is a very, very strong commitment to maintaining universal free meals for children. Whether that, whether there's potential funding now, particularly with a potential dismantling of the Department of Education, whether there would be implications for federal lunch reimbursement, I'm not sure.
And we're seeing maximum or optimal participation.
Very much so. Particularly breakfast. Breakfast participation,
Good.
particularly at the elementary level, is through the roof.
It's amazing. It's very good.
And they were great at the wellness fair. The Abbey Group had
Sure.
a nice tasting and answered a lot of questions. It was great.
The,
Good representation.
the Asian dumplings were to die for.
Yes, yeah. It was homemade hummus. It was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Just because we don't have the contract in front of us, I'm just, from a process standpoint, are we approving the contract, or are we authorizing?
You're authorizing us to select
Okay.
the Abbey Group.
That makes it cleaner.
Okay. So, may I have a motion?
I move that we authorize the superintendent to enter into a contract with the Abbey Group for the FY26 school year for food service.
Second by Bert. Any further discussion? All in favor of accepting the proposal of the Abbey Group, say aye.
Aye.
600. It passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item up, other topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. This might be under the topic of future, well,
Your microphone, go for it.
what I learned at the Wellness Fair, I learned a lot of good things, but one of the things I learned is that Sandwich has seen a slight uptick in a virally transmitted disease. And my question is one for Nicola, I guess, to see how are we doing as a school district in terms of overall compliance with the state student immunization requirements. So if we could get that information
Definitely have that information.
at some point. Anything else? Any other unreasonably anticipated or not unreasonably anticipated? Next are subcommittee reports, and we did meet with the Student Advisory Committee. Kevin?
Just prior to this, at 5 p.m. In public session, we met with the Student Advisory Committee to the school committee. We talked about a number of things. Some we're revisiting. We are going to make sure that paper towels return to the schools. And the other big issues, some of these are easy, some of these are more complicated, but examination of parking and traffic flow patterns at the high school. It's a challenge of some of the students who drive, trying to leave before the buses, and just how that all works. And there's multiple moving parts to that, so it's going to take some work. They did talk about guidance and seeing if we can't provide greater structure and guidance for those juniors and seniors as they go through the college search and application process. And also, they mentioned they would like to see an increase in opportunities for international travel associated with classes, like Latin students, going to Rome, Spanish students going to Spain, things like that. We do have some, but can we do more? So always good to see them. Always a good meeting. It's fun. It's refreshing to hear it directly from the classroom. So.
Thank you, Kevin. Any other subcommittees or liaisons?
Just the superintendent evaluation subcommittee, we're going to come up with a date to meet and review the process of doing the evaluations, and we're going to do the vector solutions again, and we're going to present the results on the April 30th meeting, the last one before Christine leaves us. Yes.
Thank you. Next are the warrants. Can I have a motion to accept the warrants?
Did you do
The warrant?
liaison advisory? Did I miss that?
Yeah, I did.
I'm sorry.
You were one of them.
Well, I did the subcommittee. I was.
Well, it was the same line.
If I may, if I can go back to that, and just a couple other quick updates. I was at, if you remember, we had talked about grade point average and how it's calculated. I think I became at Ms. Nelson's request, I became a liaison to her school council, and I attended a meeting with them, which was a combination of staff, a couple parents, and students, where they talked about how GPA is currently calculated, and they've looked at a bunch of different examples, both this kind of what Massachusetts state colleges use, how when they convert it, and also what other surrounding high schools use. Everyone has a different way of kind of doing it. I won't get too far ahead, but they do have a proposal that we are going to see in short order in time for spring as part of the handbook. It's a handbook change, so we'll see it and approve it. But the current way it's calculated, the general consensus was that there's not a significant, there needs to be a more significant difference between how different levels of classes are weighted. They feel the differences now is underweighted, if you will. So more to follow on that. And also, just for your general awareness, last year when I was sitting in Sue's seat, I got invited to Mr. Duffany's civics classes when they were doing their civics action project, and that resulted in a basketball court. And they had my email, so they invited me back. So I'm going to be visiting them tomorrow. I'm not sure they're getting a new court or what they're, it is again athletics related. So I don't know if I'll talk to Sean after this, but I'm going to be just as a single member of representing the school committee, not on behalf of everybody, but it's because they had my name before, and I'm known to a couple of the kids because I have a daughter there. So I'll be doing that, and I'll report on that next time. That just happened today, so no warning on that one.
Do we have them all? Do you have, Tracy?
That just made me think of the email that, I don't know if it's in relation, Kevin, to what you...
They want to talk about athletic fields.
Okay.
I got the invite as well.
Did I miss that?
Anything
Yeah,
else?
one of the classes, I believe, sent an email to the entire school committee.
I'll I got this directly to me.
Oh, okay.
All right. And time for the public forum, second public forum. Does
Warrants.
anybody?
I hosed you, sorry. I move that we approve the warrants as presented and signed by a majority of the school committee.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 600, passed. Future public forums. Anybody wish to be heard at the second public forum? All right.
He's not interested.
No, I guess not.
No, he doesn't want to.
Moving on, future agenda items. Any future agenda items?
No.
All right, acknowledgements and closing remarks.
If you don't mind, I
Remarks.
just want to acknowledge, and I know it came up a couple times, Nikki Bordalone and the entire Wellness Committee. That event that we had a couple Thursdays ago was absolutely outstanding. To think that that was pulled together. You know, think about over the last 3 or 4 school committee meetings, how many donations that you approved. To actually see that come to fruition, it really was a celebration of just a lot of amazing things that are happening within our community and also regionally. So hats off to Nikki and the wellness team for putting that together.
And everybody was so enthusiastic and happy to be there, and just listening to some of the discussion, the questions, you know, as you kind of pass through the materials, the treats, it was just really great.
Great job, Tracy, too, for being part of the Wellness Committee. And
Yeah, I was just going to say the amount of work people put into that and just came together was so great to see. I wasn't able to go to the actual event, but all I've heard is how wonderful
it was wonderful. It really was.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who helped with that.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn to our next regular business meeting of Wednesday, April 9th, 2025 at 6 p.m. right here in Town Hall.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, 600. Good evening, and thank you for tuning in.
Good night and good luck.